Hey guys, what's up? I'm all out of pedal builds right now, so this time I figured I'd get on with some pedal modifications. Starting with this Morley little Alligator volume pedal. Now you might be wondering what kind of mods you can even do to a volume pedal, because it doesn't really change your sound at all, or at least it shouldn't if it's a good one. It all has to do with the sweep. So let me play just a tiny bit for you and see if I can explain this. Now I don't know how easily this comes across on the camera, but basically for the first little bit it swells, but all of your volume is in probably before the pedal rocks halfway. So from halfway all the way up there's no change in volume. So I'd really like to have a more full sweep all the way through, so that I'm using the entire range of the rocker. And hopefully that's what this modification is going to do. So let's open this up and see what we got. Alright guys, here's the pedal exposed. As you can see, there's really not much to it. I imagine it's pretty much just like any other volume pedal. But the area we're going to be focusing on is right here. This is the LED LDR ensemble that determines the pedal's taper and volume sweep and all that good stuff. Now, I've done a bit of research. If you go on to Morley's website, you'll see that they recommend changing the angle of the LEDs to the LDRs. Bending them up or down is supposed to alter your sweep, and it looks like somebody's already done that. This is a second-hand pedal, and the guy who had it before me must have already tried experimenting. So that probably explains why those are all bent out of shape. Now, I've also seen a video that Scott Grove did about fixing your Morley volume pedal. Now he did it on a regular Morley volume pedal, not the little Alligator, but it's essentially the same thing. And I'll show you. Those two little windows are actually what controls the sweep, according to him. And as you can see, the one there in the center, it's shaped like a spatula, really. So it looks like you get no volume, no volume, no volume, and then all of a sudden, bam, it's all on. So what he did was he gouged out that piece to make it more triangular, so that it would have been a more even volume sweep. Now I don't really want to do that either, because I don't want to damage the pedal, or because this piece here in the center it feels like cardboard. So, and I don't really want to damage that beyond repairing it, because that's sort of a modification that you can't reverse, is gouging that out and making it more triangular. So, I mean, it worked for him, and it'll probably work for a lot of other people, but I don't want to do that either. So, I found a blog online, which I will link in the description, and essentially what it recommends is soldering a resistor across LDR1 right there, and another resistor across R3 in parallel, which I might not do that one because that affects the minimum volume control, which already seems fine to me. But soldering the resistor across LDR1 is supposed to, like I said, I'll link to the blog. He explains it in his blog in a more technical sense. But essentially it's supposed to change the volume sweep, and it's supposed to change an audio taper, which is what this pedal is acting like, into more of a linear taper, which is what I'm looking for. So I'm going to, well, first of all, I'm going to bend all these LEDs back down to where they should be. And then I'm going to try to solder, I'll have to see what I have for parts, but somewhere in the ballpark of a 1 meg to 2 meg resistor across LDR1, and then we'll see what that sounds like. So I'll be right back. And this modification is finished. So I made a slight mistake when I talked about the blog post. It's not a modification to change your taper from audio to linear. It's meant to give it sort of a reverse audio taper, which on its own is still a pretty cool mod, and I did that. As you can see down here, that little resistor that's stuck underneath that LED L3, that's a 1 meg resistor, just soldered across the, let me just move that out of the way there, soldered across the points of LDR1 and then tucked under L3. Now, so that was part from the blog post, and I also before I started, I had bent all these LEDs down so that they were flat against the against the LDRs, just as like a base starting point. So after I soldered the resistor across LDR3 or LDR1, sorry. After I soldered the resistor across there and I bent all the LEDs back down, I tested it out and found that the sweep was a little better, but it was still missing, like I still had room on the toe end for more sweep. So rather than try Scott Grove's method of messing with that window, I tried the Morley method of bending the LEDs back, only I didn't bend them back as far as the guy before me had them. So as you can see, they're just sort of at, I don't know, 25-30 degree angle maybe. And I just did that with L1 and L2. L3 I left there because it doesn't seem to have an LDR attached to it, so it doesn't look like it matters too much to me. So I left that as flat as I could get it. But L1 and L2 I bent up, and now I have a much more friendly sweep, in my case anyway. It was more what I'm looking for. It's still not exactly there, but it's close enough that I'm happy with it, and I think I'll call this modification done. So all that's left is to give you a sound sample, and so that'll come up next, and I'll just say thanks for watching, guys, and take it easy. I'll see you next time.